There is a formula for reality creation that is actually being known for generations by certain elites and secret societies that, when applied, allows you to start molding your life in the ways that you see fit. You see, you are a powerful creator, but there are many narratives, stories, programming, and conditioning that has most likely caused you to believe the opposite, and then prevent you from becoming aware of this truth, let alone actually living it. You see, when you actually start to utilize the formula I'm going to give you in this video today, you won't be able to help but recognize the powerful creator that you are. Because when you do this work and trust the process, the inevitable outcome is you're going to get better results in your life. Again, this is knowledge that elite classes have known about for generations and have painstakingly taken measures to make sure it doesn't reach the public. However, they didn't actually come up with these ideas and formulas. They were simply taught them long, long ago. So it does not belong to them, even if they argue that it does. What this means is the formula you are about to learn in this video will work for any single person that uses it, because what you're going to be doing is tapping into immutable, universal principles and laws. Laws and principles we were typically not taught as we were growing up from our parents or any institution. And again, that is because those who created the institutions that we engage with do not, for the most part, want the public to have access to the tools and formulas that they have that allow us to be powerful creators we can really be. If you really want to look into that, look at who created the schooling system in the United States and also the healthcare system. So in this video, we are going to deep dive into what this formula is, but also how to use it, how to make it practical so that you're starting to get more of the results that you're looking to get. And I have personally used this formula to transform my life. It is not information I just came to and just am parroting to you right now. It's stuff I've used and experienced and honed and gotten better at through the years, and it has had amazing results in my life as a result. And I'm talking, I was homeless and broke not that many years ago to where I am now thriving through running a business that is abundant, doing something that I love. So not only earning an amazing amount of money that I'm so grateful for, but the way I'm doing it, I am very happy with as well. I have a beautiful partner in my life that came in synchronistically through using these principles that you're going to learn today. I've been able to travel all over the world, see amazing sights, attend events, and so on. And through this formula and what you'll learn today, it is continually expanding to higher and higher levels. There really is no limit to how far you take it. And it hasn't just worked for me, it has worked wonderfully for my clients who have shifted their lives completely. And you can learn more about what we do with our clients and the program we take them through the first link down below that will also show you some of the results that they've been getting. And we're talking life-changing results. We're talking from going to struggling with money to making $20K a month in their own business, to wanting a partner to come in and that person now having their dream partner and just having their first child with them. You know, this is life-changing stuff when you apply it. So without further ado, let's jump into this formula, what you'll need to know to apply it, and then some practical things you can do to do just that. Now, the first thing that these elites and people in secret societies utilize that basically the rest of the population have backwards is they understand that reality is non-physical mainly and physical as a secondary component of reality. And when you're operating believing that this world, this reality is mainly physical, well, of course you're going to struggle, because life is mainly non-physical. This means that if you are only trying to change your life or create from the physical plane of existence only, you're not going to get very far at all. Now, I've gone over this deeply in other videos, so I'll just scrape the surface with this idea in this video, and there are plenty of other resources I have that can help you understand it deeper if you need to. Ultimately, think of the non-physical plane as the realm of causes. What you do on what we call the mental and spiritual plane of your existence creates effects on what we can call the physical plane of your existence. Now, our reality is mainly empty space and energy, with a tiny percentage being physical. This is a known thing now. There's a lot of research behind this. Most of our reality is actually empty space or energy, with this tiny, tiny subset, and we're talking minuscule, 0.0000001% of reality is actually physical. You know, if you look at an atom, which is the building blocks of our physical reality, 99.999999 empty space or energy. And so we need to know this before we can learn how to actually create reality. And again, this has been confirmed by science and some of the greatest minds in recent history. Einstein himself said there is no out there out there. In fact, Max Planck, who is, I believe, is accredited to being the modern or the father of modern quantum mechanics, he said that there is no such thing as matter. All matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force. We must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious and intelligent mind. The mind is the matrix of all matter. And it keeps going. Max Planck also said, I regard consciousness as fundamental. And you could think of consciousness as energy, empty space that we're talking about here. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness. What is derivative? Matter, physical reality. What is it derivative of? Consciousness. What does derivative mean? It comes from. It derives from consciousness. A few others just to really nail this point. This is from Werner Heisenberg. The atoms or elementary particles themselves are not real. They form a world of potentialities or possibilities rather than one of things or facts. And to bring it on home, everything we call real is made of things that cannot be regarded as real. And that's from Niels Bohr, another very famous scientist and one of the most brilliant minds of the last 150 years, essentially. This is not coming from me. Do not think these are ideas that I've pulled out of my butt and just went, oh, this is wishful thinking. There is cutting edge science that points as being true, and it correlates with the experience of people who actually apply what we're going to be going over. Now, the funny thing is science is only catching up to what certain ancient cultures and, again, elites have known for generations, even thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands of years. There has now been confirmed there have been ancient cultures that were very technologically advanced and understand a lot of what we're going to be going over in this video, and our modern day science has only caught up in the last 100 to 200 years, providing the data in order to support these ideas that we got from ancient times. And so, if you are trying to apply a formula that only takes the physical world into consideration, would it actually allow you to influence reality at all? No. Not really that much. Again, if you're trying to come from the frame that makes up 0.000 whatever 1% of reality, it's not really going to budge too much. But if you have the bigger picture on how reality operates, and you have a formula that takes that into consideration, will it fare better? Yes, it will. Also keep in mind this formula works. It is proven and tested. We are not guessing here. We know that this works for everyone that works it. One really interesting experiment to take a look at is called the double slit experiment. And I believe this was first attempted by Thomas Young in 1801, but since then it has been expounded on and kind of more solidified and done many times over. And basically what this shows us is that a conscious observer can influence reality. And basically what they would do is they would shoot photons through these, which is the kind of elementary particles of light. They would shoot them through these double slits, like tiny little double slits. And what they would notice is the pattern that it made on the back wall as these photons hit the wall. But a really interesting phenomenon would occur when they changed the conditions of the experiment. When they observed the photons going through and they observed the results, it always made a very particular pattern which kept the photons in basically a particle form. But when they weren't observing the experiment and they just looked at how the results went, it actually created what's called a wave, or a wave function, which is possibility, meaning that the photon had been in multiple possible places all at once, essentially. And how can this be? Because a conscious observer collapses a wave, which you could think of as non-physical or potential, into particle, which you can think of as the building blocks of physical matter reality. Again, it's an amazing, just mind-blowing experiment to take a look at how us, again, being conscious observers, co-creators, creators consciously of reality, and how we can actually influence it. If you ever heard quotes along the lines of the way you look at things changes things, this is where that's coming from. So now with that awareness in mind, we need to move on to one of the biggest keys of this formula that if you don't do, you're going to get spotty to no results, or even if you're not careful, negative results. And this key is understanding the power of your attention and focus. Again, if you look at the double slit experiment, there's something that was born out of it called the observer effect, meaning the way in which you observe things is going to influence or change what shows up in your life, essentially. And we can look at this through the lens of consciousness. For example, we could just say positive and negative. If you view things positively, you're going to influence it in that direction. If you view things negatively and give your attention to negatives, things that we consider negative, it's going to start creating reality in that direction. Your attention and your focus on a moment-to-moment basis is so crucial in what you're going to create. The way you look at your world is ultimately going to determine your world. Now, one thing to keep in mind here is don't think I'm talking about observation just through your physical eyes. What did we say creates most of our reality just a little bit ago? That's right, the non-physical, the mental and spiritual. So how are you using the observer effect from these planes of existence? What are you focusing on from this place? What are you thinking about, seeing in your mind's eye? What emotions, energy, and motion are you dwelling in most of the time? Are you focusing or giving your attention to most of the time what you do want, or are you giving it to what you don't want? Most people, most of the time, are giving their attention to what they don't want and then are confused by their reality and wonder why all these negative things happen and then just say things like, well, you know what? Life is unfair. Life is suffering. Yes, because you keep viewing it that way, so it keeps reinforcing that. One very powerful analogy that we dive deep into in our program is called the art gallery analogy. And this is a great way of painting a picture since we're talking about an art gallery. But just imagine that you're in an art gallery and this is the art gallery of your life. And the paintings and sculptures and everything that's on display represents different things in your life. It represents your finances, different people in your life. It represents your relationships, all of it. And what we want to do when we're looking at this art gallery is what most people do is they have a painting on the wall. And let's say it's their financial situation and they don't like their financial situation. They'll look at the financial kind of situation represented by this painting and they'll start screaming at it. They'll start getting angry at it. They'll start being guilty or shameful. They'll start putting all this negativity towards that painting. They'll maybe even start trying to destroy it or change it. But you have no right to change or destroy anything that's in the art gallery. If you were to do that, someone would come in and actually kick you out of the art gallery. But you have every right to choose differently. And so what that means is you might be looking at something that you hate, but if you hate it, and you were in an actual art gallery and you looked at a painting and you hated it, someone would just come up to you and be like, hey, well, don't look at that. What about this painting over here? What do you think of this? Like, oh, that's much better. And so you have no right to change the artwork that's in your gallery. However, you have every right to walk into a new room in the art gallery and choose differently. And so if you're in an art gallery room and it's got all these Picasso paintings and you hate Picasso, but you really love Da Vinci, well, you can then go into another room that has all his work. And what we're getting at is most people are looking at things they don't like in their life, and then they keep looking at it, and they keep screaming about it. They keep complaining about it. And complaining about your current circumstances is the glue that keeps you stuck to them. If instead you were to redirect your attention elsewhere to more to things you want to continually build in your life, to using the observer effect to your advantage, then things are going to be very different. You'll start noticing that different artwork starts showing up on the wall. Things that you're looking at start to multiply. Now there's more of what you like in the art gallery. But most people are doing the equivalent, again, of going up to something they don't like in the art gallery, screaming at it, getting angry, getting frustrated, and all of these different things, having negative thoughts about it, and then wondering why things aren't changing. You see, one thing to recognize is that every single moment, via your attention and your focus, you are sending out an energetic signal. You are in what's called infinite action. That means every thought you entertain, every emotion you entertain, every action you take, all basically adds up, and it has this accumulation of, we'll say, an energy ball that you're always sending out. And you are going to receive back the equivalent of whatever you are sending out. And so if you have someone who's always complaining about the artwork in their gallery, so they're complaining, let's say it's their car, and they're like, I hate this car, I hate my house, I hate this, and etc. And then they're thinking thoughts like that, they're feeling thoughts like hate or guilt or shame or apathy or whatever else it is. And then of course their actions are not going to be too great either. Maybe they have actions where they're not really doing anything, they're being lazy, they're being sloth-like. You know, maybe they're gossiping about other people because they're on that frequency too. Well, you're sending out that energy, and the universe just goes, okay, your wish is my command, and sends you back more of the same. And every single moment you are sending out this energetic signature, and frequency. And this is what's leading to the different opportunities, the events, the people, and so on in your life, because the universe, source, God, whatever you want to call it, is just going to give you back more of the same. But if instead we disengaged from the artwork that we don't really like, and we went over to artwork that we did like, we started being grateful, we started being appreciative, we started allowing ourselves on the spiritual plane of our existence, which you can just think of the emotional one, it's your connection to something higher. We started feeling better, we started feeling good, joy, peace, gratitude, these kinds of things. And then we thought more thoughts that are corresponding with that. So we thought happier thoughts, we thought more abundant thoughts. We thought about things we actually did want and we got excited. Then we would start taking actions much differently, but also things in your life would begin to change. Different opportunities, people, events, and so on would start to show up. I've seen this work way too many times to have any doubt about it now. When you do this, things begin to change and you will get events, opportunities, people, and so on that correspond to whatever that energetic signature is that you're sending out. One thing to recognize is your physical reality, remember, which is a tiny percentage that comes from your non-physical reality, is actually what's called an energetic history. And what we mean is, it is simply an effect that is born out of causes that you created mainly on the mental and spiritual planes of existence. Meaning, it is just a lag period between what you have been sending out there energetically that has now come in to your reality. And so there will be a lag time between whatever's here right now in your current circumstances and what's going to come next, because it's simply a denser form of energy. Matter is a denser form of energy. It's actually the same thing, of a like kind, but takes longer to come about. And so all of this is actually a history. Your physical reality, the relationships you have in them, all of it is simply a history of how you have been on those planes of existence, mentally, spiritually, the actions you've been taking physically too. This is all just a history of that. And so if you change the art gallery you're in, you change your attention, you change your focus, you take the opportunities, the new ones that start coming in, you will create a new energetic history, one that is going to be much more elevated and upgraded from what you're currently experiencing. But you have to keep sending out a better or an upgraded energetic signature before that happens. Essentially, the more you focus on what you do want physically, mentally, and spiritually, the better your life is going to become. So focus on that and tune out and turn your back to what you don't want to grow more of in your life. Because if you pay attention to it, again, scream at the artwork, you're just going to allow it to proliferate. Only more of the same is going to happen. Have more faith in the vision than your current physical circumstances, and if you do that long enough, your circumstances will change. So now we're going to go over something that's actually the predominant law of the universe. You can think of this as the king or queen of all other universal principles and laws. They all fall under the umbrella of this one law. And this law we can simply call the law of balance and harmony. And this is crucial to grasp because without it, the formula falls apart. But when you understand it, you'll see just how amazing it is when we start to get this formula right and how all of this is going to come to fruition. So remember how I said the causes you activate on the mental and spiritual plane create the effects you will experience in the physical. This is cause and effect essentially at a higher level. Even though most of us are familiar with cause and effect on the physical plane, this is kind of like the upgraded, elevated, higher level cause and effect that's in play in your life. This is actually also the law of balance and harmony in effect or in action. You see, life is always trying to balance and counterbalance. Always. You can even see this happening on the physical plane through certain weather events and natural disasters and so on. It is simply life trying to balance something out that was imbalanced. However, this not only happens on, say, a collective scale, it also happens to you individually in your life. So basically, if you are operating in a certain way in the mental and spiritual planes, by law, the physical has to balance to match that. There is simply a lag period, like we said, because physical matter is slower, denser rate of vibration. And one thing I want you to understand is harmony in this respect isn't synonymous necessarily with peace, tranquility, or anything like that. We're talking about literal harmonics, meaning it is simply going to harmonize with whatever energy you are giving off. It will align and match that. So if you have less than desirable circumstances and you complain and moan and curse these circumstances like we mentioned, nothing changes. Why? Because your surroundings are actually in balance and harmony with your inner state. they are actually aligned. But let's say you do what we're talking about in this video, and you start thinking better thoughts, you start aiming to feel higher emotions, and you do this with focus and give all of your attention to that the best you can. Suddenly, your physical circumstances no longer balance or harmonize with your inner state. You've actually moved out of balance. And so now, because you are out of balance, and the predominant law of the universe is the law of balance, counterbalancing forces have to take place. And in your life, there are only two ways in which this can happen. Now, the first way is the most common and the trap most people fall for. So now that you'll recognize what this is, don't fall for this trap. You see, when you maintain this new inner state, things in your life may start to fall apart a little because chaos will come up. Why? Because life is clearing out what it needs to clear to make room for a new level of harmony that's trying to come through. But it is aiming to clear out what will no longer balance and harmonize at this new level you are now on or you're going to. But what most people do when this occurs is they mistakenly label this as negative chaos and so panic and revert back to their old way of being. And so the chaos ceases because harmony and balance is now being maintained. You have gone back to the level of thinking and emotion that created your surroundings in the first place. So essentially, you start vibrating up here in the inner world and your physical circumstances are down here. This is out of balance. So life needs to balance it in one way or another. And what's most common is as this restructuring, reorganization is taking place so that you can now live physically up here too, people panic, they get into fear, they start going backwards, and they come back down to where their physical world still is. And again, now you're in alignment. Now balance has been maintained. So the law of balance and harmony goes, okay, we've done our job, balance is maintained. This is why a lot of people take one step forward and one step back a lot on this journey, because they take one step forward, they feel good, they're doing the work, they're thinking right, and then this feedback comes in and they go, whoops, I'm scared, I'm not gonna follow through with that, the chaos is scaring me, I have to go back to my safety net, back to my comfort zone, and it comes back down and you balance at this level. Now, obviously that's not what we want. There is no growth there. There is no ability to create. There is no, again, new life where you have all of these new things that are up here in it. We want the second way in which the law of balance can balance. So the second way is that you actually root yourself in your knowingness, have more faith in the vision than your current physical circumstances, you embrace the so-called chaos, and as a result, the physical then has to catch up and come up to match your new level of inner being. Then balance and harmony has been maintained. So again, you're gonna be up here, and then some stuff might kick up because your current physical is here. And for it to come match you here, some of this stuff has to be removed because it's on a completely different wavelength. But if you have more faith in the vision than the current physical circumstances, you stay here, you stay rooted in your knowingness, and the balance and harmony isn't balanced out by coming down here, then there's only one place for this to go, which is to meet you up there. So ultimately, from this context, when we want to create our reality, we have to actually put ourselves out of balance so that balancing forces can come in and create a new level of harmony. So now you have more of a grasp of how this all works and how it's going to show up in your life, and you have a good chunk of the formula. However, a big piece of the formula is also understanding what's called the law of continuity, and it's going to explain why that balancing act we just went over occurs, and also give you some tips and other ways in order to stay with it so your life actually does shift and transform. Now, understanding the law of continuity will help you to remain calm and present and grounded even when the so-called chaos starts to kick up. I have experienced this multiple times in my life, and every single time I have embraced it, remember to stay grounded, root myself in my knowingness. On the back end of it, once we've come through the so-called storm, a new level of coherence and upgraded life has always been on the other end. So now what I'm gonna do is play you a clip from another one of my videos that explains this process really well, and then we'll meet back here. So I'm going to lead up to this wisdom by giving you an insanely powerful analogy that we actually give some of our high-paying students and clients that is really going to paint a picture of how our reality works. So I want you to imagine that your life is like a movie. So you are living the life of your movie, or your movie is your life. So you're living the movie of you. Whatever your name is, that is your movie. I want you to imagine that like on a movie, you have a movie set, you have script writers, you have like the other actors in your movie. So you have like secondary characters. Now I want you to imagine that what you're seeing in your everyday life is literally just the script of your movie playing out. So I want to make an important distinction here when it comes to this metaphor, to this analogy. So your life is this movie, right? And so you're playing out in the movie of you. But a lot of people think that they are the character on screen instead of the actor that is playing the character. So for example, one my mentor likes to make is Daniel Craig plays James Bond. So he plays James Bond. But is Daniel Craig James Bond? No, as soon as he leaves the movie set, he's Daniel Craig. He's just playing a character. And so to understand that in this movie of your life, you are simply playing a character that is adhering to a specific script that the script writers are making. There's a script, you are playing a character from that script, but you are the actor, you're kind of looking at the script and you're going on, you're kind of in the scene of your life, but behind the character is the actor. And this is kind of our true selves. This is kind of our energetic selves. This is kind of our higher self even, if you will. So just a distinction to make, you are playing a character, but you're really the actor in the same way that Daniel Craig is playing the character James Bond in the James Bond movies, but he's not James Bond. Most people get hooked into the character they're playing, forgetting that they're just playing a character and they are so much more. Now, your movie looks a certain way because of what the script writers are writing for you in the movie, right? So again, Daniel Craig plays James Bond. He's just acting out whatever is written in the script. The things showing up on set are whatever the script writers are writing into the set, whatever they're writing into the story. Now here's where it gets interesting. When it comes to the movie of your life, you have certain script writers whose job is to write a certain genre for your movie. Now, how many people, for example, do you see who seem to be having a very dramatic, like drama, melodramatic type of life? It's always got this gossip and all these things are happening to them all the time and they're complaining all the time. Well, the reason is because they have script writers who are writing a melodramatic script. Right? So by design on this movie set of their life, which is your physical world, by the way, so the movie set represents your physical life, it's going to bring in people that fuel that drama. It's going to bring in events that fuel that drama. And as long as you think you're the character and it's all happening to you, you're going to get hooked into this and not know how to move on to a different set that has different script writers. So how do you start changing your reality so that you're not living based on this drama-based script that these script writers are giving you? Now here's what most people do, is they go up to the script writers and they start yelling at them. They start trying to take the pen out of their hand and write it themselves. But this is not the way to do it. As soon as you walk away, the script writer is just going to cross off whatever you wrote and put back in the drama script. Now, why is this? It's because the script writer at the level you're currently at, it's their job to give you whatever script you're getting. But how do we change the script? Well, it's not about trying to influence the script writers wherever you are. Well, you have to understand it's like having like a 10-story building, and on each different level of that building are different script writers that are writing completely different scripts. Okay, so I hope you're with me so far. Each of those scripts lead to a different style of movie, a different genre. So on one floor, the lower levels, you have things like a guilt script, you know, a very kind of low conscious script. You have things like a drama, you have things like a horror movie, so it's fear-based at those lower levels. But as you go up the levels in this building with different script writers, you start having action and adventure. You start having comedies. You start having, you know, profound movies that move you emotionally. So the question is, how do we move up the building? Well, it's very simple. You hook yourself out of being the character and realize that you're actually the actor playing a character. And you see that you're on this movie scene. You're in this movie scene on this set, and it seems to be drama-based. Now, the scriptwriters are there. You understand at this point that going up to them and asking them to change it is fruitless, because that's their job. They're on the drama floor. They're produced and paid to write a literal drama. So they're not going to change that. They're not going to take input from you to completely change the script that you've agreed to play in, even if you didn't know you agreed to do it. So what do? We walk up to the elevator and we press up. It really is that simple. And this is where this missing puzzle piece comes into play. So if you've ever felt in line with this analogy that you've actually done that, so things are kicking up in your outside world, you're in this drama thing and you're just like, you know what? I know that my inner world leads to my outer. I know this is fine. I'm just going to not hook into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to raise my consciousness. I'm just going to raise my energy. I'm going to be in a high vibration despite all that's happening. Now, what you may have experienced is that means you stepped into the elevator because you're raising your consciousness and you're moving up to a new floor. And let's say this new floor is now like a more, just kind of witty, kind of fun kind of movie, like action-oriented movie. So you've moved up. You're now on this floor because the drama was happening on set in the other floor, and you're just like, okay, that's happening. I'm not going to resist it, but this is the drama floor. So if I don't want a drama, I need to choose a new level in the building that just has different script writers. So you move up to the next level. And this is where this piece comes in, because this happens to people. They move up that level. And if you ever noticed, like, you kind of do that, but then you kind of seesaw between two levels. So maybe the drama script, and then you're like, oh my God, now my life is all flowy and action-oriented and adventurous. Oh wait, now I'm back on the drama. Oh, I'm back here again. And you're kind of like going up and down. Well, this is why this happens, because very few people understand what I'm about to give you right now. And this is called the law of continuity. What happens when people don't understand the law of continuity? So here we go. This is how the law of continuity works, right? So you move up floors. And there you go, you're on this new floor of action, adventure, and everything else. But here's the thing. If you expect, just because you're on this floor, that snap like that, all of that's gonna form and now all the drama stuff's gonna be gone, it can't, because of the law of continuity. You see, what actually happens when you move up the floors is the script writers on the floor you're currently on, so you're on the drama floor script writers hand you a copy of the script. And you take it up with you, and you have to because of the law of continuity. And so you're essentially taking that script up with you, you hand it over to the new script writers whose job is to write action, adventure, comedy. And they go, okay, so here's the script you've currently been working with. We need to write around this script. They can't just throw it out because it would break the law of continuity. It would ruin the game. So if you go from like so much drama and then you snap your fingers and now suddenly you're a millionaire with a perfect relationship and all these different things, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work, and the game would be broken, the movie would be broken, right? So there has to be a law of continuity. And what that means is, you are still gonna have a little bit of drama residue when you move up the floor from the script. But because these script writers write action, adventure, comedy, they're going to have to remove some of the things in your life that adhere to the drama comedy. So one way my mentor puts it, let's say in the drama comedy, or that's not drama comedy, but in the drama movie, you had a boss who was just such, like, he was awful, like just the worst boss on the planet, right? Now, why did you have that boss on the drama channel when you were playing the drama movie? Because you were on the drama floor. So the script writers wrote things in like that because you were on the drama level. It makes sense. You want drama in your life, having a terrible boss is definitely going to provide that. You know, you want drama in your life, having a terrible partner that's not right for you is going to be that, right? But now that you're on this action adventure comedy floor, the script writers have to start writing out the boss, but they can't just snap their fingers and pretend the boss doesn't exist, right? So you might have to lose that job or become fired. Or if you have a partner, you may need your partner to push your buttons finally to the point where you're like, this isn't right, and you break up with them or resolve it in some other way. And so through the law of continuity, they are going to have to write in some way that allows your script or allows your movie to start settling more on the action adventure comedy. They're going to have to remove or change some of the drama-fueled things from the previous script so that it makes sense. This is why when you start doing the work, you might lose your job. And many people I've worked with, this has happened. I had someone in my EMF program, so it's a 6-month transformation program that we run, and about 2 weeks into the EMF, she quit her job because, again, she moved up floors very quickly and she knew to trust it, quit her job, and guess what happened? She got a new one in a week with higher pay that she loved so much more. Now, why did this happen? Because she moved up floors, and instead of getting scared and going back down when the job, she was going to lose the job and she was going to quit the job, and there would be another way that it left her, she didn't quit. She would have been fired, something would have happened, or she would have had to gone back down floors, which means lower her consciousness, which is not really a good thing to do, right, if you're trying to grow. And so what happened is she knew to quit it because she was on this higher floor, and we helped her through this. And then a new job showed up in a week. Because once that was written out of the script, it's like, oh, okay, bring her a much more relevant job for the script that she's on right now. When you move up in the building to a higher level of consciousness, to a more fun, favorable movie, the script writers on that new floor inherit the script from the previous floor. Most people start doing the inner work, right? You're doing the meditations, you're doing the affirmations, you're feeling great now. All these things are happening. But I almost guarantee if not much is changing in your life, you're kind of going up the floor, stepping out of the elevator, and then something kicks up, the so-called chaos, and you're like, no, 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 and you go back down. Because you don't understand that through the law of continuity, the chaos has to be there. And your job is to embrace it, is to understand that if chaos is there, if you're doing the work in the way that we talk about, like you're really raising your consciousness and then there's chaos, that's just the natural process of change in life occurring. It's a good thing. It's moving things around. It's changing your movie set to adhere to the new script of the script writers on the floor you've moved up to. Now, lastly, to make this work, you have to recognize that it all begins and ends with you. You have to make the choice to step into the powerful creator you actually are from your free will and take responsibility for it. To not give someone else the responsibility to create your life or to victimize yourself about whatever thing. Again, you are always powerfully creating. So you have to stop complaining at the artwork and take on the responsibility of the powerful, amazing creator you really are. You are actually so powerful that you have the power to choose to actually suppress yourself because you have free will. But if you decide to step into the godlike power you actually have available for yourself, you'll be able to use this formula effectively and quickly. You'll be amazed at how fast this can work when you just step into more of your power and you work the system. Now, to help you with this, we have something called the Be, Do, Have formula that is going to help you connect again to that powerful creator you are right away and then start moving from this place. Now, this is an amazing paradigm that I learned initially in Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh, and I've been using for a very long time, and it is very effective. You see, most people are running around from what's called a do, have, be paradigm or a have, do, be paradigm, and I'll explain what this means. So the first one is when someone's worldview is that they have to do something first, usually something physical. This will then help them to have something like a desire, which will then lead them to being something. In this case, an emotional state. For example, then I can be happy. So if I do something, that doing this will lead to me having something, and when I have that thing, I can be fulfilled, I can be happy, I can be X, Y, or Z. Now, the second formula that a lot of people employ is very similar. However, this worldview states that you must have something, let's say like a college degree, to do something, let's say make money or be financially abundant or be successful, to then be something, again in this case, be happy, fulfilled, successful, etc. But however, if you have been connecting the dots as we've gone through this video on how reality actually works, you can see how both of these paradigms that are very common and spoon-fed to us since we were a very young age, you can see how they actually fall apart and won't work. Because it is how we see the world that creates the world. It is our inner state that leads to our outer circumstances. So if we're saying we need something from the outer world first, then we've got it backwards. So again, shouldn't we connect first to the emotion or state we wish to be in, and then from that place take action, which would naturally produce byproducts on the same wavelength? Or put another way, will cause the law of balance to operate in a way that balances with what we are being and then doing from that beingness? You want to connect to the feeling first, to the emotion or energy in motion. Through doing this, you will be inspired, led to certain actions naturally, which as a result will cause you to create new circumstances that align to that. At that point, a new energetic history will be attained. But if you're waiting for an energetic history you don't have in order then to feel a certain way, well then you're going to be waiting for a very long time. So ask yourself, who do you need to be? Who do you need to become in order to allow for your vision to come into fruition? Map that out and be it now. You keep doing that and things begin to flow. Inspiration becomes abundant. Action becomes joyful. Manifestations become inevitable. Again, if you recognize that life is non-linear and mainly non-physical, keep your attention focused on what you want using the observer effect to your advantage. Activate the law of balance and harmony in your favor. Embrace the bends and chaos that will come up as you do this, and exercise the be, do, have paradigm. And you keep applying this formula, by law, your reality will have to change. Again, if you do this diligently and consistently to the best of your ability, you won't even recognize yourself, I promise, in 6 months from now. This is in fact what we do with our clients as we coach them and show them how to do this at a deep level. And the results they get are mind-blowing. Their lives are forever changed because they became a brand new version of themselves that was operating from a new place of being. Again, if you want to learn more to see if it's a good fit for you, you can learn more through the first link in my description down below to learn about how other people have gotten on through the program, the results they've gotten, and what it could do for you. Now, if you're up for the challenge of really committing to this and you really want to start seeing some changes, I would go watch this video next, where I go over how to do this in about 77 days, where you're starting to see amazing results in your life. Again, you have to commit to this, you have to do it diligently, but if you do what we went over in this video and what I go over here, you're going to start seeing changes.